The hour of power.
Yo, brother Forrest.
What's happening, man?
Hey, bro. Good to hear your voice, man. How are ya?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Going good, man.
Well, I'm sure things will turn around for you. Shortly.
Oh.
We said we're good, and you're making out like we're on suicide watch, man. Thanks for that.
Well, I mean, not yet, but soon.
It's getting soon, man.
Fuck, it's good to hear your voice, bro. So me and Juro, decided to start this podcast and put out people that we've built some good relationships and friendships with, basically to just motivate and inspire people and take them on that journey, and what it takes to get to the top of their chosen sport or career or whatever. And as soon as we started talking, bro, we both said, fuck, we need to get Forrest on, and that fella is a crack up.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're talking about we're going to motivate people. I'm like, well, don't worry. Just wait. Things will get worse.
That's what we're all about, man. Perfect.
I always say, though, things don't get better. You make them better.
Yeah, 100%. What you put in is what you get out, bro. You just gotta make shit happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised.
So life's good for you?
No, yeah. I mean, I keep complaining, but nobody wants to listen. So yeah, it's great. So I just keep lying. Tell everybody it's great.
Fuck me. Are you recording this shit, Juro? This is what we wanted to get.
Hey, yo, check it. The hour of power. POD cast is upon your ass. Spitting on the mic is the NZ boss, and his homie DJ NZ the odds. Yeah, don't twitch, don't snitch, don't switch. Just open up your senses. And now listen to the hour of power. To the hour of power. To the hour of power. To the hour of power.
All right, let's go. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of Hour of Power. I'm the host, NSNZ boss, Shane Hunter, CEO of Nutrition Systems New Zealand. I got my boy, Juro at DJ Bigwig, Director of Operations Australia. What's up, bro?
What's up?
Today's Hour of Power and special guest is a real treat. We have American mixed martial artist, UFC Hall of Famer, and the winner of the first Ultimate Fighter, one of the most recognizable faces and personalities in the UFC, the bro, Forrest Griffin. Welcome, Forrest.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. It's great to join you from across the sea. I wish I was there in studio with you, obviously, but I'm stuck here in Las Vegas.
Things could be worse, man. You could be stuck on a tropical island somewhere with someone you don't like.
Yeah, that's where you're at right now, stuck on a tropical island in a tropical studio with someone you don't. Okay.
That's where we're at, man.
So, Forrest, we met a couple of years ago and we've done some work together and stuff, and when Juro and I decided to put this podcast together, one of the first people that popped into mind as a character, personality, and a journey that we can be taken on was yourself. So, we're proud and honored to have you on board. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
No, it's great. It's great to hear that, I'm the most famous person you could get. That's an honor, You're, looking through your Rolodex, and you were like, man, we really can't do any better than Forrest Griffin. This sucks, but we'll give it a shot. We're going to have to road with it.
Yeah, it was like winning the lotto, man.
Yeah. So, obviously, this is to take us on a journey. We want to motivate and inspire some people and keep things real. So take us right from the start, bro. Like, what got you into MMA? How did you get started?
I'll tell you what. I don't know about the motivational part, but I've been known to keep it real. No, so I got very fortunate because I found my great passion. Right, you can never truly be good or even great at something if you don't love it, right? And I found fighting. I was doing a lot of other stuff, and I saw the UFC 15. I think it was Vitor Belfort, Randy Couture, and I just thought, man, that is it. If they would just stop wearing the tight shorts, I would do that. And yeah, no, I thought it was the most complete form of human competition, right? You walk down the street and you kind of size everybody up. And I was a young man at the time, and I thought I could fight. I'd been in a lot of fights, and I think I'd won more than I'd lost. Most of the time, that just meant that I took so much of a beating, the other guys quit punching me, which counts as a win in my book. But I kind of saw that there was some skill to it, and I went and I met Adam and Roy Singer, the hardcore gym. I literally saw people fighting through a little glass wall in the like in a gym, and I thought to myself, that looks fun. I want to do that. So that's the kind of personality you have to have, right, to do the sport. You're like, oh man, that's two people are punching each other in the face, throwing each other on their heads, and I'm like, oh, it's awesome. I'm gonna try it.
Yeah,
and try this at home. I went in and I got beat up by those guys. And I was pretty athletic at the time, and I just got beat up, and that's when I was hooked. I knew that there was something to it, and that I had to figure it out, and that, I was going to spend a good chunk of the rest of my life trying to understand the most effective way to engage in combat, right?
That's pretty hectic, man.
So,
especially getting beaten up and enjoying it by the sounds of it and going, man, this is me. So I suppose...
I said to DJ before the show, I said, what sort of background or experience do you think Forrest has? And I was like, I think he just liked beating people up from a very young age, and just was like, this is me. I'm into it.
Well, so yeah, but I was in a lot of fights because I was bigger and I was relatively tough. But I would honestly say, I was 500% win-loss at best. So I lost a lot of fights. Growing up, so it wasn't that I liked or disliked fighting. I certainly never liked beating people up. It was just that it was like public speaking. I didn't have a huge fear of it. I was a little afraid, but to me it was always kind of fun, like you kind of get a little buzz through it, It's like people who jump out of planes, they're just wired a little different. They love that stuff, I host the podcast, and my partner's TJ Lavin, and he would, do 30-foot verts on a, BMX bike or jump over trucks and stuff. And to me, that seems crazy, but, that's to him, that's his.
That's what he loves doing.
Me,
Yeah,
exactly. So you got to find something that you're uniquely positioned to do. I meet a lot of people, and I've met a lot of people throughout my journey that have really loved martial arts and fighting, but do not have the physical skill set for it. They have no physical attributes. That you see it in every sport, right? And it's unfortunate. You're like, man, if I could give your passion and determination to somebody that was a halfway decent athlete, we'd have something. But so basically, the moral of the story is, if you're not good at something, stop doing it. No, the real moral of the story is. The real moral of the story is this: you tend to like things that you are naturally good at. That's the way the human body is built, right? That's like your natural defense, and it helps you find what you need to be doing. I was naturally good at sports my whole life, so I played sports. I wasn't naturally good at fighting, but I naturally didn't have a fear of it that most other people seem to have. So that made me, that made it easier for me to get into. And even within the first year of training, I think by 18 months in, I think I'd won 4 or 5 fights, by 18 months of training. So I started off kind of ahead of where a lot of people was, because I did have a relatively, I had a decent athletic background. I had a decent skill set, strength, coordination, good cardio, relatively good chin at that time. So I had a good
combination of all those variables.
Yeah, physiological qualities, and you can't. They're influenceable, we like to say, but they're not changeable. If you some guys just don't have a good cardio. Some guys just don't have a good chin. Some women, it's funny. You meet people and there's just like one little piece of their game that's wrong, and they'll never be able to fill it in, because there's so many components to mixed martial arts, and that's the great thing about mixed martial arts. Like, a lot more so than chess or any other game you can think of. There's so many variables, right? So we refer to it as an open sport, as in there's just limitless possibilities. Closed sports would be more like football, basketball. You know, there's a goal, and there's only so many ways to get a basketball through the hoop, right? There's only so many ways to score a touchdown. There are almost an infinite number of possibilities on how to win a fight, right?
Yep.
You know, you see a guy get his foot that's winning the fight, get his foot caught in the cage, fall down with a broken foot, and the fight's over. You know, I was just watching an old highlight, like UFC 8 or something. Some guy broke his foot in the cage and lost the fight. And I was like, well, how do you attribute that as a win? We're trying to figure out how to win and lose. You know, what's the best way to win a fight? And that's so that's my advice on how to win a fight. Have your opponent get hurt.
Straight up, man. But obviously there was some sort of confidence, as you said, in your own belief, and the Ultimate Fighter episode came up, and then you applied. Can you tell us a bit about how you applied and what the process was and what your thoughts were going into the show?
So, yeah, that's a good story because I didn't apply. I didn't know anything about it. I had talked to the UFC the year before, and I had talked to Joe Silva, the old matchmaker, and it was an honor to talk to him. And so basically, maybe if I was fighting, he said basically don't lose, and maybe we can use you in February at 205. So I fought heavyweight down in Brazil. I checked a kick by reaching down with my forearm, broke my arm, went home. You know, I had like, I don't know, I'm gonna make maybe after I paid my manager and stuff, $1,100. I didn't go too far. No insurance. I needed a plate in my arm, but I couldn't get it. I ended up cutting my cast off so I could go apply. Got a different job as a police officer, and I had worked basically for a year as a police officer. And then, you know, that about a year later, I got the call from UFC like, hey, we need a last-minute replacement to do this show. And I had 17 days to decide if I wanted to do the show, because I didn't know anything about it. But my old manager, a guy named Frank Bishop, who's just, you know, basically on the internet, heard they were looking for people and sent him my info. They called me out. So I don't know anything about it. And it's not Joe Silva, because I knew Joe Silva. It was Craig Collegian's production company, right? So Pilgrim Films. So I'm not even talking to somebody at the UFC. I'm talking to, you know, basically a reality TV show guy. And I didn't know what I was in for. I didn't really want to do a reality show. I was just kind of getting my life back together after fighting had left me broke and on my buddy's mattress on the living room floor. Never on a couch, though, because I can't sleep on couches. So I would go find a mattress and sleep on the mattress in like a dining room or something. But I don't want to tell you about some of those mattresses I found. I might still have some impetigo from it. But anyway,
Shane.
So,
can you send one to Shane?
Yeah. So the department I was working for, you had to give 21 days notice, and I only had 17, so I would have been, I would have quit, and I would have not been eligible for rehire, because just no way around it. They liked me. They were like, yeah, we're sorry, but you will not be eligible for rehire because you're only giving us 17 days notice out of 21. So I was actually at the airport about to get on a plane and go to Vegas for the first time ever, 2004, and I called my Lieutenant White, and I said, hey, is there any way you can pull my resignation out of the box and I can come back to work on Monday and you just attribute this to some leave time? And he said, yeah. So I called the producer, and somehow I ended up I called the producer, and I was basically like, convince me to get on this plane, convince me to do this. I don't want to do this. You know, convince me I should give up my life to be on some stupid reality show. I didn't really understand the concept of fighting, how much fighting there was or wasn't. So anyway, I kind of figured out that in life I want to either regret the choices I make, not the choices you don't make, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a decision, it's a risk you don't take that you regret more. You know, why didn't I invest in Apple in 2006 when I thought it was a cool company? You know, it's stuff like that.
For sure.
And I ended up talking to Dana, and he told me to get my ass on the plane. And And my stepdad had told me before, Byron, he had told me, you know, worst case scenario, you come back with some story that'll last you a lifetime. And I was like, that's pretty good worst case. I'm gonna give it a shot. You know, have some fun, get some cool stories, learn about fighting from Chuck Liddell and Randy Couture, you know, the two biggest guys in the sport at the time that happened to be in my weight class. So that was pretty awesome. So I got on the show, and you know, I fought my first fight. I got a cut, and I almost was not able to fight in the second fight because there was only 8 days in between, and the cut was above my eye. You know, I had stitches, and you know, you can't technically fight with stitches, but the stitches weren't ready to come out, and so I've been fighting with glue, and it was really hard to get me cleared. So if you ever watch the first season of the show, that's why I kind of fight bad in my second fight, because you know, it literally been on and off. Like, you can fight, you can't fight, you can fight for, you know, the last 5 days. And, you know, first it was like, no way, you're not going to be able to fight. So they actually brought Bub Southworth back in the house so he could, like, have an opportunity to take my place and make weight. And then with 5 days, they were flip-flopping every other day. And you know, it wasn't until the day of weigh-ins. We actually, myself and Bobby, both weighed in. It was me, Bobby, and the guy I fought. We all weighed in, and then they did let me fight on fight day. They cleared me to fight because they were just like, well, we want you. They wanted to push the medical clearance back, sort of have as much time to heal as possible. So I ended up getting to fight that fight. I won that fight, and that got me to the finale with Stephan Bonner. And hopefully you're familiar with that fight.
100%. One of the craziest fights I've ever witnessed, and unbelievable.
And probably
so,
the start of your legacy too, right there at that moment.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll forever see, you know, that guy from that fight, you know. But that's cool because a lot of guys aren't any guy from anything. So, you know, before Mark Hamill had this great second half career, I was just to be like, yeah, man, I'm Mark Hamill, and that fight was my Star Wars. It is what it is. You cannot hate what made you.
Going back a little bit, when you were in your mind, before you got the medical clearance, were you always just mentally switched on? You were preparing for fight, or was there a lot of doubt? Like, you know, how was it? Like leading up to before you got the clearance, did you just do everything in full preparation that you were going to fight?
I did, but I wouldn't say, you know, I didn't do it well. I was a bit half-hearted with it, you know. I didn't, you know, it was weird. We'd been on the show, we'd been trapped, and I wasn't mentally where I needed to be, you know. Pretty slack, actually, yeah.
Because there are things as viewers that we will never know or never understand, you know what I mean? Like the physical and mental battles you have to go through leading up to a fight, you know?
Yeah, and that was you know, that was a pretty particular one. You know, it's funny, the second time me and Stephan fought, he almost didn't get to fight because he had stitches in his face as well. Yeah. And they were, you know, trying to get him cleared, so and I didn't know that. Or actually, no, I did. They had talked about a different opponent for me, and my, you know, this is back when it was hard for me to make weight. My thing was weight. I still have to make weight, though. So I was just like, both
so
the
times,
I was basically just like, I had to just, the biggest thing I got is just to make sure that I can make the weight.
It wasn't you that gave him the stitches somewhere in one of the back rooms with no cameras, was it, Forrest?
No, it wasn't, yeah. But I did, if you ever watched the first episode of the Ultimate Fighter, they had get stitches there, clash of heads. Boom. That's what he got for, you know, beating me up.
Well, whatever you did worked for you, because as you said, your stepfather said, go in there and you might get a good story to repeat someday. You got more than a story.
Good story, yeah.
It's amazing how your journey or path can be determined by a decision that you make. Like, you decided to take that trip and put yourself in that position, and that whole event was amazing. I remember seeing it at the time and just being totally blown away, and you know, it helped blow the UFC right up. So past that moment, basically that happened. How did things change for you from then? Was it immediate? Like sort of
No,
give
it
us
was immediate. Like literally the next day, I knew, I was in the best and worst of places. I knew I had no more excuses. All I had to do was be the best fighter I could be. Before that, I'd always worked. I had a job or two. Now I knew I just, I had one job, and that was fighting. So I was, and then it's just like a whole different type pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Is it true? Sorry, go for it.
Again, though, how much success can you really have if you don't put pressure on yourself? A lot of times when I was training, I seemed very unhappy, or like leading up to a fight. I'd do interviews or day of the fight, and I would be kind of, just for lack of a better term, bitchy and short with everybody, and that wasn't nerves or anything else. It wasn't like an outside fear. That was, because I have expectations of myself. That's intrinsic motivation. It's truly, my level of concern with how I perform in these fights, because it is important. You think about when I got knocked out by Keith Jardine, I started crying right in the octagon, right there. People don't get that, and I feel bad for those people because they've never truly invested their soul in something. They've never truly had a goal and done everything in their power to achieve that goal and still come short. And I think that it's when you put everything into something and it still fails, that's when you know what type of person you are. You don't know what type of person you are when you're just winning. It's easy to win. It's easy to be good at something. It's only when you come up short that you realize what you're about. And a lot of people, they'll never really admit that they've come up short because they shortchange themselves on the way. Something I see in the sport a little bit is guys don't prepare properly. Kind of like if you don't study for an exam because you're going to fail the exam anyway, but then when you fail it, you say, well, I got a 62, but I didn't study. You kind of like creating excuses. Whenever people go into fights saying, "Oh, my neck is not," I haven't had a good camp. They're setting themselves up for failure. They're making that excuse.
They're making excuses. Yeah.
Yeah, which they're the worst kind of excuses because they're not excuses to you or me. They're excuses to themselves.
To themselves, yeah. I remember when we had you in Australia, Forrest, and you still had a couple of fights post that tour in your career, and man, you were like a big grizzly bear. Like I was impressed with the physical size and presence of you. I was like your hands and just your body structure, but I remember every single joint creaked, man. Like your knees, it was like a 100-year-old door with no CRC on it. You know what I mean? Like every sort of thing creaked. Yeah. Your neck, your shoulders, your knees. It's like holy crap! And you were about to start prepping for a fight. Those types of things don't mean shit to you. You just got to do what you got to do 100% to prepare for these fights. So.
And as far as
I know what you're
funny, man. I look back at that and I think of those are the good old days when my body actually worked. I was like, oh man, I remember the good old days. No, I was unfortunate. I got injured early. I fought the back half of my career with no ability to generate power in my right arm. Like not able to punch hard with it, not able to even take a strong underhook. But it happens. I'm making excuses like everybody else is making excuses. Everybody blows something out. It's just what happens in sport, not even in non-sport. We have I work at the Performance Institute now. We have a physical therapy office, and everybody goes to PT. And you don't go to PT because you're injured. You go to PT because you're a professional athlete that fights people in a cage for a living. Of course you're banged up. You're always going to be injured. You're always going to be nicked up. And that's not just the UFC athlete population. That's every professional athlete everywhere. You think about rugby players, man. One of my memories is I went to the Olympic Training Center dealt with some of those wrestlers. I was about 28. Most of those guys were under 24. I was making, probably $100,000 a fight at that point, maybe more. These guys were making, I think, $2,500 a month stipend, and they were just as sore and banged up as I was, chasing that Olympic dream. And I tried to get them all just to quit and come fight in the UFC. I was like, dude, this is really hard. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, U.S. Olympic wrestling program, but this is brutal. You guys are just as banged up as I am, but I'm getting paid. You guys are doing this for, the hope that you will get to compete for, $3,000 piece of gold. I mean, that is great. There's no higher achievement in sport than a gold medal. And even to compete in the Olympics is amazing, but, I knew half those guys, and probably 70% of those guys never even got to compete, and none of them ever medaled,
Yeah.
If you want some depressing sports stats.
Well, it's true. As you said, Forrest, you need some sort of level of talent. But let's be honest, as you said, talent will only take you so far. It's the work that sacrifices that you put in something that you may not even achieve in the end. You may end up in an office or a mechanic or be a cop as you are, which is all valuable work and part of community service. But hey, you got to put the sweat in, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm basically saying it's hard. It's only for the chosen few, but the alternative is to never know. Imagine if I hadn't got on that plane. I hadn't gotten on the plane. I hadn't gone to Vegas. I hadn't been in the first Ultimate Fighter. I would be a fat cop sitting somewhere doing something, and I would be watching the TV saying, man, I could have done that.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the back of my head, I would think, man, I feel like when I was young, man, I was good at that. I could have done that, and I would never know, And how much do you think that would eat me up, right? Like, how much would that hurt?
100%, man.
Oh.
People around you will be like, Forrest, stop telling us that story, man. You were gonna never.
Exactly. Yeah. Shut up. You didn't fight. I'm going to beat you. Yeah, mate.
Yeah, I hear it from Shane.
Yeah.
I hear it from Shane all the time. When I was a semi-pro rugby player, this and that, and it's like,
oh yeah,
Shane.
You know what? When I had my opportunity to move back to New Zealand and set up nutrition systems, distribution business, the failures from my sports were part of the motive. Like I said to my wife, I don't want to look back when I'm 50 and 60 and say, I could have done this, I could have done that. I would rather go there and give it a go and try hardest. And if it doesn't work out, we can say, fuck, well, at least we tried. And that was a lesson learned from failing in sports, not committing hard enough, not taking opportunities when they presented, and I think just not really loving it as much as what I wanted to. I wanted to be a professional athlete because people expected me to, but I didn't have that love, or I wasn't giving what I needed to be giving to make it or to be the best. So I totally understand where you're coming from there, from that perspective. And Drew, I was a good rugby player.
So you say, man.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, Drew, Monty Beetham, he stands by a quote that says, "It's not a true challenge. A true challenge is defined when you don't know what the outcome is going to be." And I'd expect that's what it would be like going into every UFC fight or every fight that you went into. Obviously, you prepare for the best, but you never know what the outcome is going to be in that octagon. Like you said, you can get your foot jammed in the cage and lose,
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, so some level of optimism and some level of ego protection is always good, You want to be honest with yourself about 85%. Don't be 100% honest with yourself. And I mean that genuinely. Like, I think one of my problems is I've always maybe seen exactly what I am and what I'm not a little too clearly, I've kind of always thought, he's a better athlete than me, he's got reach, that, and I've so it's good. It's healthy to protect your ego. So when you do lose, and there were outside factors. You don't have to tell everybody, but you know that you didn't get good sleep. You know that you were having a row with your old lady. You had a newborn 3 months before. You know that there were disruptions and that you weren't your best self. I don't like it when athletes tell everybody about them, but you know in your heart that wasn't the best you, that there's a better you. And I think that's also important because you're going to lose and you're going to have to keep doing it. So, respect your ego.
As long as you can look at yourself in the mirror after the fight and know that you did everything in your power to compete, I think you can only lie to yourself. If you're happy with what you put out there, then that's it. Get over it and prepare for the next battle.
Yeah, no, it's happened to me before.
Hey, Forrest, so tell us about the prize, the first Ultimate Fighter. So you win a car, a hatchback from memory. You were telling me that you held onto that car for quite a while. Do you still have that car?
So I don't. So fun story. I have that car for about 9 years, and I loved it. And then I got a deal where I got like a free 2-year lease on a Nissan. So I had this new truck. So yeah, I had a new truck for free for 2 years. So I gave that car to my father-in-law when his car broke. Well, then 2 years passes. I lose the Nissan, and I didn't have a car, so I ended up buying a car from my stepdad for a while. So I had a good run, man. I got a 2005 won Ultimate Fighter. I got a free sign-on. 2008, I coached the Ultimate Fighter. I got my wife a free Range Rover. And both are still in the family. Yeah, both are still in the family and driving. Well on the high side of well over 100,000 miles. But they're both still going.
Because I remember in New Zealand,
Killing.
a fan asked you, "Hey, Forrest, what kind of car you drive?" And you were like, "I still drive the car that I won." And then the person looked at you and was like, "Are you serious?"
They're like, why?
That was cool, man. That was cool story.
Because, but, and then I did a really good job of setting myself up to be an athlete, right? So your car is going to smell like dirty gym clothes. Do you really want a nice car for that? You're going to drive around, everybody knows the best gyms are in the bad part of town with bad roads and stuff. Do you really want to be driving like a nice Mercedes down on the wrong side of the tracks to the real good boxing gym? No, you don't. I drive my Scion down there. So that's right. I drive my Scion down there, the toughest neighborhoods at the best boxing clubs. Nobody's even looking twice at it. They're like, oh, that's a banged up old Scion. Let's touch that thing.
Wise.
Well, that reminds me of when you toured New Zealand and Australia in 2012, Forrest, and we picked you up from the airport. And, you had a pair of shorts, a T-shirt on, a green jacket, and a backpack. And then I was like, all right, well, we'll wait for your suitcases and stuff. And you were like, no, I ain't got no suitcases, bro. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, this is all I got. And I'm pretty sure that backpack had one spare T-shirt. And so for the duration of the tour, each day you just switch T-shirts. And I was like, fuck, I love this guy, man. Just no bullshit. Just keep it simple,
Yeah, you know who else is exactly like that is what's his name, Super Samoan Mark. He's exactly like that.
Oh, Mark,
my deal is, yeah, very much so. My deal is I knew everybody was going to give me free T-shirts, so I would just wear the free T-shirt, work out in it, and then get it all nice and sweaty, and just leave it in the hotel.
It's true.
And then if you have one pair of swim trunks and shorts, you can just work out in them, and then you just jump in the hot tub in them, and then hang them out to dry. You can use the same workout clothes every day. And then, so all you need are clean underwear and socks. So really, I just had a bag of underwear and socks.
For real, man.
And that's all you had, bro. That's all you had.
I remember all the gear you left us when you left, like all the T-shirts, all the track suits and that, and we're like, this man's just hooking up free gear. I'm going to just hang with him for a week.
No, it's like, well, I wasn't gonna pay to check a bag. I didn't want to check a bag. I didn't even have a bag to put all this stuff in to check. I was like, whatever. Fine.
Well, leading up to that, we had Ronnie Coleman on tour of Australia and New Zealand, and I picked him up at the airport, and he legit had 12 suitcases. And we had to rent another SUV just to carry all of his luggage around.
True
So
story.
one car was for him and his cousin, and the second car was for all of his suitcases. And I was like, oh man! And then
I mean, what was he doing? Like, what was he doing? I don't know. Oh man, what was he doing?
He had DVDs, and he had all types of different merchandise. But from doing athlete tours with bodybuilders in the past, and then. So I went straight from Ronnie Coleman to a few weeks later, doing a tour with yourself, and it was just easy and simple. Just feed me, bro. I'm easy to look after. So it was a hard case. I think I
eat pretty healthy too. So I don't love fancy restaurants because it's hard to eat healthy in them.
Yeah, I think we went to Pit, had those chicken breast wraps about 5 times a day. Remember?
We got kicked out of there, man.
Yeah, I love that place. The best sauce there. Yeah, they just now got them in the States.
Oh, they got him. So you had this green jacket on, Forrest. I'm not sure if it was on your way to this tour or a previous flight that you were going on, but you had your gun in the pocket of your jacket when you were going through the airport. I remember you telling me that story.
Yeah. So so I was actually just dating my wife, and she was taking me to the airport the next day. The flight was at like 7 in the morning, so you get like 5. And I brought my gun out of my car, and I was going to have her watch it for me because she was picking me up. I was leaving my car there. It wasn't in a great neighborhood. I didn't want my gun to get stolen out of my beautiful Scion. The only thing of value. So I meant to, ask her to watch after it for me, but I just left it in my bag, and then, I go through airport security, and then, I got pinched. I thought the kid at the thing was going to let me go. I thought he was sending me around, and then the TSA lady ran over, and it became, I was trying to be real nice because I didn't want people to miss their flight. So I was like, hey. So I ended up, the lady's like screaming at me. The whole lane shut down. So I saw some cops just kind of sitting by the stand, like talking. So I just walked over to them and be like, hey man, I got a problem. Maybe you guys could help me out with. And so this is why you should always be a good guy. I'm in the back of the police car on my way to jail. And the guy that's arrested me calls in. The supervisor says, go to the talk around channel. So they go, and he said, hey, is that Forrest Griffin? I'm in the back. Yeah, it's me. And the guy says, oh, you know what? My son's a big fan. My son met him, local guy, said he was real nice. Can we give him a break? So I ended up, I got processed, and they dropped me back off at the airport, Stan's gun, of course, and I actually made a flight. And I did my little gig. I think I made like $3,000 for it. And the TSA fine for, traveling with a firearm is $3,000. So I lost the gun and I broke even though.
Whoa.
But what you put out is what you get back in. You've always put out good energy. Exactly. You've always had time for people. Anyone that I know that's... Yeah.
If you're ever looking for a story about being good to people and it coming back for you, that's the story. Because I was about it was first thing Saturday morning, and man, it was full. Like I was gonna sit. It was gonna take a while to get processed. Like there was a line of drunks and crazy people with drunk vomit and blood on them, like 40 people long. And I was like, oh man, this is I'm gonna be here a while. Yeah, so I got to bypass all those guys. And they gave it right back to the hotel. It was awesome.
Hey, talking about the New Zealand tour, Forrest, I have to ask you something. Shano said that, he watched the movie Sherlock Holmes and learned a few moves from one of the fight scenes, and he thought he tried out on Forrest Griffin. He came back from the show and he said, you know what? Forrest and I had 2 rounds. Round 1 was mine. Round 2 was his. Can you confirm or deny that?
Oh man, I can't. Was round 1 did round 1 involve warming up and lifting weights or something?
No, man, it He was talking chokeholds and submissions and wrist locks.
I've got a distinctive memory of you coming at me with a left and me doing the old deafen, duck. I got the little quick jab to the throat, and then I got like a little left uppercut into the rib cage, and then you were like, nice. Where did you learn that, bro? And I was like, Sherlock Holmes, man.
Yeah.
And then you go, let me teach you something then. And you put me in a sleeper, a choker hold, and you, man, I saw the gates of heaven open up, man. Like, and you said you weren't even squeezing hard, but it felt like my neck was going to break into a 1,000 pieces. I tapped out straight away. So that was round 2.
Lucky you didn't walk into the light, Shano. Lucky you walked the other way into the darkness.
I think, yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, what can I say? You immediately hit me in the throat. It's an illegal technique. I want to just note that to the judges.
I met John Jones when we had John Jones over in Australia last year, and I said, I had a pretty good battle with a Forrest Griffin when he came out a couple of years ago. And I said, oh yeah, and I was like, yeah, now it's 1-on-1, you and me. I go, because he's tall, man. I was like, bro, can you just bend right down so I can put you in a chokehold and get my wife to take a photo of it? And he goes, oh, okay, bro, no worries. So that was my claim to fame.
Say how it was, man. You had to get a chair to stand on the chair.
Oh, the first time I had to stand on a chair to be the same height as him, and then I start cheering him up and saying, Juro's got a mixed martial arts background. He reckons he can kick your ass. He reckons you're a pussy. You ain't got nothing. So we're winding him up, bro. And then the first time they meet, John Jones and him had a bit of a battle. It was pretty good to watch.
Man, I
had
no idea. I just walked up and he goes, "So you're the guy that's been talking smack about me?" And I was like, "Excuse me." Next minute, we're rolling around like two lovers on the ground.
Two kangaroos trying to mate in the wild. That's what it looked like, bro.
Yeah, thanks for that, Shane.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Over here we say like monkeys fucking a football, but yeah. Probably
both Shane and I were the monkeys in. The football in that situation. We weren't the monkeys.
I see that.
Hey, so Forrest, what are you up to these days? I mean, after your fighting career, you still have some sort of involvement with the UFC. Can you tell the listeners what you're up to these days?
Yeah, so I work for the UFC Performance Institute. Basically, I do everything that touches the athlete. So, there's a lot of stuff with weight regulations, commissions, time, everything that affects the athlete, right? So, down from, how to best train for the sport to how to transition out of it to a partnership with the Cleveland Clinic, which is trying to give us, diagnostics to basically tell an athlete when, look, man, the amount of trauma your brain has taken is at a point where it's going to get permanent and irreversible. You can't get cleared by the commission. So I used to work with the commission a bit, and then all of our medical partners, as well as the Performance Institute itself, which is, it's hard to explain without sounding like a douchebag, but it's a high-performance training center designed for mixed martial arts, right? So if you think, you played rugby, you guys went somewhere and you learned for a week or two or a month before the season. Well, there's nothing like that for the UFC athlete. So we created something like that for the UFC athlete. So we have, we basically divided it into 2 floors, which is, our 2 kind of series of thought, 2 trains of thought. So the top floor is unstaffed. The top floor is punching, kicking, grappling. It's we don't want to tell you how to do chokehold. We don't want to tell you how Matt Brown should fight Carlos Condit. That's not what we do. We tell you how much your body will handle. So physiologically, your workload, your body's demands to stress, and basically human physiology, right? Like, the point of diminishing returns for everyone is a little different, right? So everybody has, a different training window, a different, different window of adaptability, right? Everybody's different, and we have the ability to give you metrics so you can judge your own. So the bottom floor is nutrition, obviously, huge in our sport. So nutritionists, registered dietitians, physical therapy, so doctor of physical therapy, head of performance, so the kind of person that keeps it all together, and strength coaches, obviously. So the idea is that all you have to worry about is getting better at the actual skill part of your fighting, and that we can plug everything in around, the skill. Where a lot of times you see these guys doing these awesome metabolic conditioning circuits that are real fun, but they're actually detrimental to your sport-specific practice, right? So to your actual grappling or running or punching, right? So you're making yourself, you're basically spending all your money doing this exercise, and your core competency, your wrestling, boxing, whatever, is suffering from it, which is something I would do. I'd work out to my detriment. So if you think about it, I had a physical therapist, I had a nutrition that I talked to, I had a really good strength coach, I had a really good boxing coach, really good Muay Thai coach, good grappling coach, good wrestling coach, but I didn't have a system or a person to keep it all in order for me, to kind of give me what I should do on what day, So that's what we do for athletes, and that's primarily what I do, is help them work everything technically, physiologically, be it how their VO2 max is going to affect their training, into the actual, what does that mean for, my wrestling practices? So, for instance, most injuries, most serious injuries that require surgery occur during scrambles in sparring or a wrestling practice. What that means is that you really need to isolate and break out that intense, individual competition. Do it when you're already warm. Do it for about 15 or 20 minutes and then stop. How many times have you heard, I got hurt the last round?
When you're fatigued.
Your body can't protect itself. So what you do then, because you need the reps, and you need the reps at that speed, is you start transitioning where basically I'll be a dummy, and you'll go your 90%, your game speed at me, and I'll basically just react enough to protect myself. And then we'll go back and forth, to continue that intensity physiologically, right? To continue getting our blood up, getting tired as hell, and getting your heart rate up. But then you're not risking so much the injury.
Yeah, very important, man.
Unbelievable.
Very important.
Sounds super innovative, Forrest.
Well, yeah, like another thing, you see a lot of guys, instead of the super teams, they're going to, even in a super team, they'll break out with their sparring partners. So a guy will have 4 or 5 guys that they'll spar with, boxing, kickboxing, that represent the person they're going to fight, or that they know they can work with. And you work with those people when you're fresh, and as soon as you're not fresh, you're not able to defend, properly, do what you want to do, you need to break that out and start drilling, right? So, again, it's simple stuff that everybody knows, but if you wore a heart rate monitor or, like a striver, which is blood oximetry, pulse, heart rate, pulse, and then your blood oxygen and your frequency of breathing, and then you're like, okay, you're in the red today, back down, like the Omega Wave. It tells you basically, again, how ready you are for an intense training bout.
And how were the staff recruited for that department? Were they recruited, are they specialists in their field of work? Or where'd you find them?
Yeah, so both of our PTs, our PT and our ACT, both came from the Olympic Training Center. Our strength coach was the head strength coach of all sports, Olympic sport at the University of Michigan. Our head of performance, kind of operate the guy that runs the whole thing, was he was the head of all sport at Notre Dame. The head of all sport there. And then before that, he was the strength coach for the British Olympic team, or the UK Olympic team. And our nutritionist actually wrestled at Cornell. He was the head of all sports nutrition at Cornell, which is known for being innovative. Again, sports nutrition is a brand new field that's kind of exploding right now. You guys are very familiar with it. It's it's very ahead of, it's very actually behind, I won't say. Whereas you've always had strength conditioning coaches. Only now are high-level teams getting nutritionists. And ironically, Australia, we had a couple candidates come out from Australia because you guys have great physical therapy and great, Melbourne Institute. That is the Australian Institute of Sport located in Melbourne, located in Melbourne, which I never got to go to. If you follow like a lot of the best research comes out of there. So we talked to quite a few Australian sports scientists as well. I guess you guys are ahead of the game on sports scientists. We got our sports scientist. He was a head sports scientist at a university in Germany, and before that he was with the Russian Olympic team.
Nice.
Unbelievable. We've definitely seen with the implementation of nutritionists and sports supplements that we distribute. Obviously, we work with all of the high-level professional athletes in New Zealand through rugby, netball, boxing, etc. And the recovery, obviously the strength growth have increased and improved, but the recovery, these guys can get back and train at those levels and recover after games a lot faster, and that seems to be massive now. Just another component that makes them better athletes.
Yeah, everyone's asking about it.
You talk about, you talk about, so it was athletes over 30. I need a little something, and they were getting a lot of results from, sports dietetics or from sports nutrition or just eating better, or eating to their sport or eating to their activity level. They were getting a lot of results from it because they were basically coming from a inconsistent fast food diet. But now it's even like, 23, 24-year-olds are eating this way because that's what you do if you want to be a professional athlete. The days of eating the fast food are kind of over.
Yeah. We found a lot of these top athletes were, like you mentioned earlier, overtraining, or they were training, 4 to 6 hours a day, but their nutrition and their supplementation was just average as. So as soon as we implemented the pre-workouts, branched-chain amino acids and creatines and glutamines, we saw their strength, we saw them all get stronger, we saw their skin folds all improve, and they all got fitter and faster than ever. So they were all doing the work, their just diet and nutrition wasn't suffice.
Yeah, I mean, you have, if you think about it, you guys have been doing this a while. I'm sure you've seen that this is exploding. That this is that next thing that people are like. It's basically it's a window that hasn't really been used before. So nutrition is the fastest growing thing in the sports ecosphere right now, which leaves a lot of kind of jabroni. Well, I know this guy. I work with this guy's diet. You get a lot of not frauds, but just a lot of uneducated people pushing uneducated curriculums out there.
So true. Yeah.
And I don't claim to be an expert, but I just have enough. I'm no expert on nutrition, but I do know enough to be able to tell when somebody is legit or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think at the later end of people's careers too, a lot of the guys I work with now, it's injury prevention, and it's if they can get another 2 or 3 years out of their career at a couple $100,000 a year, then that's what they need to do. So they need to be eating properly and taking the right supplements, so they've got longevity in their sport. You can't have a beer. You can't have a beer and a meat pie after a fight or after a game anymore. Those days are over.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can have one, and maybe that's, you say, okay, I have one, bad thing a week or something, but you can't consistently do it, obviously. But you talk about that end of your career. I look at Bisping as an example. Bisping, I thought, was maybe towards the very end of his career, and look at how much money he's made, like becoming champion, defending the belt. Fighting GSP, even though he lost, it was a great fight, and he got to fight GSP in a huge card in New York City. He has made so much money, because he found a way to get a couple extra years out of his body. And the other thing I'll leave you with is, if you think about the UFC athlete, it takes years to kind of build your name, and then people still want that name. So if you can elongate your career for another 2 or 3 years, the UFC is going to make more money, which means that athlete is going to make more money. You know, so again, unfortunately, when you're young, eating right and taking care of yourself doesn't manifest itself in the next day. But those habits over time, they give you that, oh, hey, I was able to compete till 38, or I was able to compete till 40. You know, you're not going to do that if you don't have good habits when you're 22. And it's really hard to explain that to 22-year-olds. They're like, well, I eat garbage and I feel fine. Yes, over time, that is going to catch you. Over time, not recovering properly, not doing any pre-workout, post-workout. If you do that stuff now, you're going to get those extra years 10 years from now, where you're going to really make your money.
We're all victims of that. I mean, we all thought we were Superman when we were younger, Wonder Woman in Shano's case, but yeah, we were all pushing hard, not recovering, because at the end of the day, just underlying what you said, I mean, diet and nutrition follows you throughout the 24 hours of the day, where you're only in the gym for a couple of hours, so it's important what you do outside those hours and how you recover and what you put in your body. So very valid point, and great cause. I mean, you know, working as part of that team to look after the fighters in general, and, you know, fixing up lifestyles, that's really important.
That's massive, yeah.
Yeah, my new thing is I just walk around and say, hey, sleep more.
Absolutely.
Say girlfriend good night. Sleep and quit calling till late. Sleep more.
Are you okay with one more question before I let you go? Just from a young fan?
Yeah, of course. But first, sleep more, because it hurts less when you're asleep.
Forrest
I love it.
Okay, so the walkout. What's it like walking out with all those crazy fans around you, cameras in your face, security pushing you through, walking up to the officials? How does that feel? What's going through your mind? Can you explain that, you know, the best way you can?
In the beginning, it was really fun for me. Towards the end, it was more like, I just want to get to work, man. I just want to work. But it's a lot like if you've ever been skydiving. You're sitting on the plane, you're looking out the thing, and you're about to jump out of a plane, and you're like, what the hell have I got myself into? Or why did I think this was a good idea? But you're still kind of excited about it, you know?
Wow.
And so what I do is I've got a little spiel lined up, you know? And if you think about what are you feeling before you walk out, you know, and you say, well, you know, if you're being honest, you say, I'm nervous. And I said, no, you're not nervous. What are you really feeling? And you say, well, I got butterflies in my stomach. Okay, that's good. That's a physiological response to stress. That means your body knows that you're about to get into some shit. And it knows it doesn't have time to be wasting blood on digestion. So your digestion's shutting down, so you have more blood through your muscles. And you say, well, I feel kind of weird. You feel focused. You know, those nerves, that mental clarity, that's you know, that's you're operating on a higher mental level. You're faster, you're stronger, you get tired quicker, but, you know, that's your mind getting ready to react. Like when you're almost in a car accident and you feel like, whoa, you're so hyped up, amped up. You know, so you just accept these things that are physiologically happening. You know, like, well, I almost feel like weak in my hands. So that's like, it's because you're not using your hands right now. As soon as you use them, your body will know you're using them, and the strength will come, you know. So you just have to kind of break it down physiologically. And that's what I did later in my career. But earlier in my career, it was just like, well, I guess I'm going to jump out of the fucking plane.
Bro, that was awesome, man. I'm ready to jump out of a plane right now just after listening to that. I love the way you put it. It's awesome.
All right, man. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Forrest.
Yeah, Forrest.
Thank you very much.
Honor and a privilege. You know, thank you for giving us your time, and you know, wish you well in all that you do. Know that you'll be successful, bro. So yeah, thank you very much.
All right, man. Thank you, guys. Take it easy now.
You too.
Hey yo, check it, the hour power. POD cast is upon your ass. Spitting on the mic is the NZ boss and his homie DJ NZ the Oz. Yeah, Don't twitch, don't snitch, don't switch. Just open up your senses. And now listen to the hour of power. 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 The hour of power.